Well, thanks everybody for joining. Today it's about Ekaho for the next couple of hours. Here's EJ. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm EJ. I'm the Global Manager of Technical Support Services. I've been with the company for about 4 years now. Started out doing desktop support, mostly for ESS, and our other suite of projects, which is RTLS. So now I've been here, and now I'm the Global Tech Manager. So pretty much supporting and helping all the services for that. Plus, I also do all the ESS online trainings here in the US too. So.
All right. I'm Jussi. In the company for almost 10 years, so pretty much throughout the existence of Ekaho. Since the beginning, I've been working a lot with the Site Survey product line, which today is not just the Site Survey tool, it's more than that, and you'll hear about that today. But since we're here for the first time, and I don't know all of you, so could we do like a quick roundtable where everybody introduces themselves, and also, because it's like, you guys probably think that Ekaho, aren't they kind of like Air Magnet and kind of like Air Scout, but neither? So can you tell us your experience with our tools and Air Magnet and Air Scout, so that we could get kind of a feel for like how much you've used different stuff, so we can adjust the presentation accordingly.
Blake Croney, EJ and I know each other from all 4 years, 5 years, whatever I've been using the Site Survey product tool. I've used the RTLS from you guys offering. I'm also Air Scout Level 2 certified, so I do have a lot of experience with the Air Scout's product. They actually created one of my products. And then Air Magnet Site Survey as well, but mainly I prefer to use Ekaho.
Can you repeat that?
I prefer to use Ekaho. My boss is going to kill me.
Rocky Gregory. I've been working with your tool, not as much, but with the competitors for a very long time.
Which one's Air Magnet? The others?
Yes.
Any others than Air Magnet?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Cool. Me too.
Yeah, I use VisiWave for outdoor stuff, Air Magnet, all the on-the-shelf stuff.
All right.
Dan Sobalski. I've been using Ekaho for about 5 years or so now. I've looked at Air Magnet, couldn't buy it at the time, so I have no experience with Air Magnet or anything like that.
Okay.
Sam Clements. I've been using primarily the Air Magnet suite of tools, and I've got some Air Scout exposure as well. I've tested the Ekahau products a couple of times throughout my career, but nothing that I've ever really been able to embrace.
All right.
Just yet.
George Stefanik, primarily Air Magnet toolset, analyzer survey, very limited experience on the Ekaho.
What about RTLS? Any experience there?
Yeah, it's now expired, but I was Air Scout certified when I worked for a partner.
Marcus Burton.
Hey, Marcus.
I know you guys, and you guys probably know what I know. I don't know RTLS quite as much, but the survey stuff, I've used all of it.
I'm Tom Hollingsworth. I'm the token networking guy. So I work for a really small VAR, and our method of site survey is to use a dartboard. And so we put it up there and we go AP, AP, AP. So I'm actually really interested to see what you guys have to say.
Sounds good.
My name's Jeremy Gaddis. Fairly new to wireless stuff. Like Tom, been a networking guy with wires for many years. Figure, it's wireless. There's no wires. How hard can it be? A little harder than you think. So just recently switched jobs, took a new job. We're VAR, MSP, ISP, doing a lot of wireless stuff, and so definitely looking forward to all the presentations.
I'm Matthew Norwood. I'm primarily a wired background, but I'm probably more wireless than Tom and Jeremy are. I've used AeroScout and I've used Air Magnet in limited capacity. Never used Ekahau. Heard your name, but never.
It's Chris Little. I primarily used Air Magnet as a sort of tool for doing site surveys. Various other free ones that don't really quite well. And I've had some exposure to AeroScout's deployments for RTLS.
Andrew Von Egge. I primarily have used Air Magnet Survey and Wi-Fi Analyzer products. I have played very, very little with the Ekahau Site Survey, mainly because I just haven't had training on it and haven't had time to dig into it, but I'd like to.
we'll change that.
Yep. And then on the RTLS side, I have never touched AeroScout, but I have touched your RTLS and gotten to play a little bit with that. So, never production deployment of RTLS though. So.
Not yet.
Not yet.
My name is Jennifer Gibber, and my site survey experience has been primarily with the Air Magnet suite of survey tools from the laptop analyzer and on. I did a brief survey, went through the Ekahau tool, and I'm level 1 AeroScout certified, but I haven't touched their gear.
All right. Very good, thank you. And in case the microphone in the camera didn't catch it, I think it's fair to say most of the folks here have been using AeroScout and Air Magnet, but maybe 50% also Ekahau in terms of site survey, and then some of those Ekahau RTLS as well. So that's a good position to be in, so that today we can actually educate on what our products do and what's new at Ekahau. So maybe in terms of an agenda, let's look at the first a couple of introductory slides, then look at the site survey product line, mainly our flagship laptop tool as well as the mobile tool. There's new stuff there released today, and then we'll spend the last half an hour or so with the real-time location system. EJ actually has a live demo that we can see, and not just take a look at the Wi-Fi tracking, but also what could be called Wi-Fi Plus or whatever. So our exciters are infrared based and they work a little differently than AeroScout. So let's take a look at those as well. And then at the end we can actually do more hands-on. So maybe give you everybody tools, and then we can just play with them and whatever, if we have enough computers. But I hope we do. So you guys know us in terms of we do these two things, RTLS and site surveys. And actually the site survey business was kind of an accident for us. So for the RTLS, we need a way to calibrate it, because we do it in a way that we kind of train the RTLS system by doing this floor level survey calibration. But we didn't call it site survey back then, it was RTLS calibration. But then people started using our RTLS calibration tool for performing site surveys, because back in 01, 02, there was no visual site survey tools. So that's when we kind of 02 we already released Ekahau Site Survey 1.0 that was a spin-off from our RTLS calibrator. And that's like if someone says like these guys are ripping off from Air Magnet, actually our site survey tool was a year before Air Magnets. Not many people know that, but that's true. And also same goes with our planner. But it was, so it was kind of an accident. We were looking at how it's gonna go, and then the business just grew and grew and grew, and we couldn't stop it anymore. So it started living its own life in a way. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So
that's us.
Jussi,
yes.
Just a question for you. Did you actually develop your tool, planning tool before the Motorola LAN Planner tool as well?
Good question about who was first, Motorola LAN Planner or us. I think Motorola LAN Planner was probably before us, at least for GSM networks. So the LAN Planner originates from wide area networks, right? So at least that component was there before. I'm not sure about the Wi-Fi component, but probably that one as well. Yeah, I apologize the accent, so whenever you can't make out of what I'm saying, just ask me to repeat. Or maybe EJ can translate.
I'll try.
Can we have like a simultaneous translation going on?
The second one makes it, you guessed it, us for
All right, and we have a blog. I try to write there as often as I can. And then we have quote unquote Twitter and Facebook, but basically it just, whatever I write in the blog gets blasted into Twitter and Facebook. So there's not as much going on there as I'd like. And there's a lot of YouTube videos as well that kind of explain the software, but also teach you how to use it. All right. So we're founded in 2000, a little over 10 years old. We take pride in releasing the first Wi-Fi location engine in 2002, and actually we started in wide area network tracking, so we were tracking GSM phones. But now, looking at it now in 2011, it doesn't really make sense to use GSM networks for tracking phones, right? Because GPS is pretty good. So we got out of that business pretty quickly. So we have around 100 guys working full time, and offices in Helsinki, Finland, where the R&D is and some of the administration. But our headquarters is today in Reston, Virginia, where we have, you know, management as well as US sales and systems engineering. And then we have smaller offices throughout. Okay, let's look at the Site Survey product line. And trust me, I won't show you many slides anymore. Be patient. So the point of this slide is, you know, there's more and more stuff in your Wi-Fi network, mostly because of the smartphones and the tablets, right, and BYOD, whatever. And this makes not just capacity planning, but radio interference more important. And of course, we already heard about the radio interference in the previous presentation, and we actually OEM MetaGeek Spectrum Analyzer. I'm not gonna bother talking about it, right? Those guys know much more about it anyway, so. So let's concentrate on the capacity stuff and some of the troubleshooting analysis, Site Survey, whatever. And IDC and Cisco and everybody says, you know, there will be more and more traffic, yada yada, right? But then you know, you just say, if you're an IT administrator of a fairly sizable network, you might say that after listening to the vendor pitches from all the Wi-Fi vendors, they might have brainwashed you to think that I have this automated RRM or ARM or whatever. I don't really need any tools, right? Because it just auto adjusts itself if something happens.
Yeah, but some of the vendors are particularly bad at telling customers that, oh, you don't need a Site Survey. The system will take care of it.
Exactly, the classic no Site Survey required. And yet here we are. But I mean, this is okay as long as you have like a couple of laptops and data. That's true. So the ARM, RRM, Auto RF, they're fine. But then when you start adding stuff to your network, conferencing, voice, RTLS, you guys know that. So when and then we start coming up with all kinds of requirements for the network and design requirements and limitations like how many voice calls per AP and all that kind of stuff. I don't think you're good anymore with just the Wi-Fi network. And that's why, you know, everybody here has tools to overcome these problems. Bless you. All right, so if we look at the Wi-Fi network lifecycle, from planning to verification to troubleshooting to monitoring. And for planning, the primary goal is to figure out kind of where to place the APs, right? Verification is about ensuring that the network works. Troubleshooting, you know, it might be whatever, but resolve the issues basically, and then monitor the network. And then you might say, for planning, you could use the dartboard, or you could use a rule of thumb, right?
Yeah.
For verification, I don't need it, right? This is exactly the no Site Survey required. So Auto RF handles it, and tada, that's it. And for troubleshooting, you know, free tools are good enough. And then for monitoring, I have WCS, or I have the systems director, or Airwave, or whatever. That's enough. It's a cool user interface, and trust me, it does do a fantastic job, but it doesn't do everything, right? But for continual AP-based monitoring, those systems are really good. I'm a big believer in NCS. I'm a big believer in the Aruba, Meru, all of that. But then those approaches may have slight issues then. How do you handle multi-floor? So, you know, floor-to-floor interference and leakage and all that kind of stuff. Different kinds of walls, antennas, capacity. You know, you start coming up with all kinds of different issues. When it comes to monitoring, and this is kind of what the Wi-Fi vendors keep silent about, is monitoring from the client device perspective, right? Because you have the APs in the ceiling, and even if you have spectrum analyzers in the APs, they're still in the ceiling. So that's kind of the problem, and I don't know many solutions that would provide continuous monitoring from the client device perspective. Do you know any?
A couple come to mind. I know We've talked a couple.
CCX5 supports client feedback back into infrastructure.
Yeah, that has some kind of capabilities. That's true. CCX.
I've seen clients that are Ruckus clients that will do the Zap tool and run it as a daemon in the background. All the clients that can test dynamically.
Oh,
it's
that's
not like
nice.
reporting, but if they have a problem, they can test it remotely. And then another one is the Verawave stuff where you load an agent and do some testing from the client side that way.
Yeah, yeah. The Verawave stuff is really interesting, ain't it? All right, so to address those issues, the product line goes as follows. So for planning and site surveys, we have the Site Survey Pro. So these would be equivalent to Air Magnet Survey plus Planner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than that, it's troubleshooting and all that kind of stuff as well, but mainly planning, site surveys, and reporting. And this is, whereas for example, VisiWave is maybe more outdoor focused. We have outdoor capabilities as well, but ours is more indoor focused with the 3D stuff and all that kind of things. Then with the new mobile survey, that's for verification, troubleshooting, and client-side monitoring. And we'll take a look at both quickly soon. And then there's the spectrum analyzer. And honestly, this is a MetaGig OEM. It says Ekaho on it, but it's fully blown MetaGig technology. And then you might have heard or used the heat mapper. I hope and I like to say that it's probably the world's most popular site survey tool, graphical site survey tool. It's not as popular as the Insider, but as map-based site survey tools come, I think it's the most used because it's free and it does its job. Any questions at this point about the product line, or just get to the demos already?
For the Site Survey Pro, you mentioned it's more geared towards indoor. Do you have a roadmap to look at tweaking that to work a little bit better in the outdoor space? Because we've had issues with it performing surveys and the planning, especially for an outdoor space. I know that outdoor is hard to do that for, but is that something that you're at least looking for?
Excellent question about outdoor planning for our site survey tool. So my view is that outdoor planning is hard when it comes to computerizing that problem. And Ted Rappaport and his team with the Wireless Valley tool, now acquired by Motorola a few years back, that's a great tool for outdoor use. And because that's already there and it's pretty dominant in the outdoor space. I think for survey features and some of the planning features, yeah, but it's not like we're gonna have you build citywide outdoor networks with our tool in the near future, I'm afraid.
More so just like for a yard management system, if you have a distribution center for mesh nodes and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've been tossing around, or it's actually coming, not like near term, but it's coming kind of the height of the objects and things like that, so that you could actually do what you described. So campus-wide planning for outdoor use, not city-wide, but campus-wide, absolutely. All right. As for the product demos, so we'll look at how to design in 3D for coverage and capacity. Does anybody else have like a capacity planner? Because I haven't seen any really that come to mind. Where to place the APs in terms of capacity?
You can in land planner you can do it by capacity with its auto planner and then move them in.
WCS attempts to do that too. You can give it some specs up and some stuff.
All right. So I haven't played with land planner, to be honest. After the what's the security company that Motorola acquired? Air Defense. They had their own version of the land planner. That's the last time I played with it. So yeah, but okay, they have some. I need to take a look at that. So we'll have a couple of demos today. I guess that's the point. So let's get down to it. You want to start with the site survey laptop product or the tablet stuff? Tablet stuff. Somehow I guessed that. So I don't have a direct connection from the laptop to the projector, I'm afraid. We really tried it last night. We did, trust me, but we never made it work. So what I'm gonna do is try and hook up the tablet to the laptop, and then the picture goes from the laptop to there. So it's not real time, but it's like, you know, one frame every couple of seconds. It's better than nothing. So let's see if we can make it work. And you know, Trent, I just might beat you on the 3 crashes. I might get, you know, 5 or 6. So. All right. That's kind of small.
Dark glasses together and scan the
Can you roughly see what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. So this is the mobile survey tool, and today we released version 2.0. How many have seen the version 1.0 somewhere? A few of you guys. So let's make a quick like recap of what happened in 1.0. So you know Fluke AirCheck maybe, for example. So this kind of on-the-spot Wi-Fi analysis. So that's good. It's a good product for that. But I think my problem is that when I run into a problem, when I'm walking somewhere around the site, I may not have my tools with me. So you know, what do? I need to go back down, get my laptop or get my AirCheck and come back to resolve that issue. But not so with this tool. So this can run on your phone, if you have an Android phone, that is. But if you have an Android phone, you know, you just take the phone out of your pocket and it will do active and passive testing and tell you, you know, is this network good enough for VoIP, for example. So what it allows you to do is to set limits for your network, like this. So you can say, you know, my minimum signal strength is whatever, and this is kind of like the Airwise, but different. And you can even do rogue alarms, but basically it's minimum signal strength, minimum packet or maximum packet loss, maximum packet delay, that kind of stuff, right? And when these are set up, it compares the criteria you set against the live values. So it does active and passive testing all the time, continually. So you may see the values changing a little bit all the time. Not live, because it's, you know, slow refresh rate, but anyway. And this kind of gives you an idea. You just get the phone out of your pocket and you'll start troubleshooting right there. So if you get, you know, long latency times or low signal or nearby rogue access points or whatever, you will pick up that issue right away. It's not a fully blown packet analyzer. It's not a spectrum analyzer, but it's a starting point if you have an Android phone. It also has the basic AP lists, for example. So you can see, here we go. The green one is the associated one. The red ones are rogues. And then the black ones are, you know, your own network. Because it has built-in logic to kind of determine which ones are your network and which ones are not automatically. So you don't have to define your own APs, it automatically does it for you. And the rogue detection is based on these. So whenever, you know, let's say these red APs, if they are too close to you, the rogue alarm will hit. Okay? So that's kind of the on the spot. So it's a lightweight AirCheck type of thing running on Android. The other thing it does, and this was also in 1.0, is what you can see on the right here, the background monitoring. It says background monitoring even though it's not very clear. So what that does is it turns your phone or tablet into a Wi-Fi analyzer or Wi-Fi sensor. So in a sense it turns you into a Wi-Fi sensor. What it does is you can now close this software when you have the background monitoring enabled. And the tool will tell you that, okay, we missed that. but now, yeah, there we go on the bottom right hand side. It says background monitoring enabled. And it's continually now monitoring the network. Even if you put your phone into your pocket, turn it off, whatever, it will wake up every minute, every couple of minutes, whatever you set it to, and make those active and passive tests. It takes like a second or two to make them. But it will make them, and then it will tell you if there's something wrong with the network, it will alarm you. Otherwise, it'll go back to sleep, and you know, scan there on the background every now and then. So the use case would be, you know, you walk around the site, you know, doing your daily job without carrying anything. But then when you walk into a coverage hole or you walk into close to a rogue AP or whatever, this guy warns you of that problem. So you kind of if you walk around the site, or if your colleagues or customers walk around the site, you'll stay ahead of things, and the measurement is done from the client perspective, right? So this is kind of what's been lacking is some kind of client-side monitoring. It doesn't monitor everywhere, but it does monitor.
And it's checked in like you're checking basically a point in time and space instead of like, is it correlating the data to a floor plan map?
Exactly. This is like on the spot, kind of right here, right now, kind of a thing. Exactly. And that's any other questions about this? Oh, nice.
There's one.
I have one.
Add some more.
All right. So I'm assuming it doesn't update my stuff anymore. Let's see. Oh, but it does. Or does it? Hey, here we go. So that's actually a great question, Marcus, and that leads us to the next screen. So this is now new for 2.0. So this tool is priced now $3.99, all right? So it, first of all, it allows you to do site surveys without paying $2,000, $4,000, whatever you need to pay for like an Ekahau Site Survey tool or an Air Magnet Site Survey tool. And best of all, it gives you like lightweight, touch-operated site survey solution that runs purely on your tablet. It weighs like what, half a kilogram, 1 pound, whatever, and it gives you, just an easier to use, more convenient way of performing site surveys. It's not the same as doing site surveys with your laptop, of course. Your laptop has a standardized adapter and whatnot, but it's an excellent way of, like, from the actual end user's perspective, seeing how the network works.
I think one of the key points there was that you like to survey with the devices that are going to be in use. So if you can survey with the tablets that are going to be in your environment and going to be used, like you're in healthcare and doctors, you can use this tablet. Survey with that tablet. That's an exact representation of that hardware and that device and how it might perform.
Exactly. So you might do like a fully blown survey with your laptop, but then do one floor with this just to make sure that there's a correlation there or not.
What about support for external USB adapters? Because if you're doing a survey with like a Proxim, whatever, and your Android tablet has a full-blown USB port on it, can you attach that adapter to your Android tablet and use this as a substitute for a realized survey?
Excellent question, and I would say currently no, but definitely something we're considering, because that would be the ideal solution. Would be something lightweight but a standardized adapter.
Absolutely.
So
and
what adapter does it use today?
They're integrated in here. So these guys actually have, for what I've seen, they're really good ABGN chipsets in some of these tablets, but not all of those. So many of the phones today still are BGN or even BG. But for example, the Samsung Galaxy S2, the Galaxy Nexus, both phones, both ABGN, right? And most of the tablets today ABGN, that the latest ones.
I'm sorry. So is the software specific to tablet, or will it work on any Android?
Any Android tablet, and most of the phones, the high-end phones, all of them. So we have a few there that we're gonna play with later during the session. So
do you have a list of supported or preferred adapters or platforms?
That's the beauty. There's too many to list. So as long as your Android screen is big enough, which applies for all the tablets, and as long as it's Android 2.2, I believe, Froyo or better, you're good. So it's pretty much all the Android tablets and most of the high-end Android phones. But yeah, there is a list actually, but we just can't keep up. There's so many devices coming up, and we can't buy them all. Unfortunately, I've tried. You can see the results there later. Okay. So how it works? I wish we saw live, but basically, I'll try and show you so that. So it's completely touch operated, of course. You can see the map here, or can you? Did I crash the tablet too? Hey, this doesn't happen often. Wow.
You crashed the tablet.
Still on the screen.
Yeah, I did. How's that?
Nice work.
Got you 3 now.
Yeah, say that's 3, right?
That's 3 because there's a second pop-up that came up.
So I can't demo anymore because I'm risking. All right, so what do we do in the meanwhile? How about this? Now that we're touching the tablet subject, let's do it ourselves instead of like looking at the screen. We have like, I don't know, 6 or 7 tablets there, so maybe groups of 2. Take a look at how it works actually live on the screen. So let's grab some tablets and see how it works.
But you do have to give them back the...
He never said that.
That one is good too?
Yeah, that should be okay.
I think you was leaving there for a second.
I did.
So there you go.
I wasn't paying attention.
There you go.
I know, right?
I
see
looked
that,
at
I'm
it,
like,
the mail icon.
This is a weird, because the thing is, this is Ryan's and it's open with pattern. How good memory do you have? It's like something like this. Just don't let it shut down.
Go to town, guys.
All right, can we turn them
Oh,
on?
here, they already have one, so you get one now.
I don't know how to work the tablet.
Hey!
That's the other one they sold.
Yeah, that's
the unicorn.
Unicorn tears.
If you need some help figuring out how to make that work, I may be able to find a doctor for you, because I still don't know.
Tom's one of the 4 people.
Hey, there's a smartphone one.
We've got one at work. It's sitting in the corner.
There you go. I got a smartphone
Oh,
here.
you can pass it to someone else. Is it?
Everybody got a tablet? Let me try this one more time so that I can guide you through.
So it should be pushing buttons.
There you go. You can try it on the smartphone one here.
And it's not just tablets, like I said, it's also phones. So you can even do a site survey on a phone, but would you really want to do that? I'm not sure, because the screens are of limited size.
I've done it on my phone, and I thought it was nice with the background alerting, because when you walk by and a rogue AP or something, that it'll vibrate and tell you.
Absolutely, for the background monitoring, that's exactly meant for phones. But then the map-based site survey, I think for the phone it's a bit challenging. You can do it. I've done it.
There you go, Tom. Finally got a use for your place.
All right.
Phone call on it?
We're back. Did you guys already learn how to use it?
Yeah.
And by the way, it is a pre-release taken from the code base today, so if it crashes or does funny things, don't worry about it. We will be shipping late next week, so we have a good week to fine-tune it still.
We can fix that later.
Exactly.
Smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors.
Oh, which is what you would expect. Yeah.
You're doing the survey now?
Nice to see that.
Not a survey, just.
Yeah. That's cool.
So on all of those, there should be a map already loaded.
Yeah.
And you should be able to open that map, and then when you start clicking on the top is where you can start doing some actual surveys if you were wanting to walk around and do the survey. What you see right now, you see on the map there's like APs on there. That's a survey that's already been done with the laptop, where we can locate the APs, place them on the map, and now that's just showing you where they are. And if you're not doing a survey, you can actually click on the AP icons on the map there, and you can see the heat radiation pattern for those APs.
For that particular AP, okay.
He's back. I bought enough time.
I'm back, at least momentarily. So when you tap on the screen, outside of the APs, you actually get this kind of a menu. And with this, yeah, it stays there only for a while, but clicking on the AP shows the coverage. But try clicking on the legend here, for example, and it allows you to do this kind of coverage limit. So you can say, I'm only interested in next 75 or better. So it kind of grays out.
It makes it so it's lighter. I mean, really, I mean, the market for this is kind of interesting.
So it grays out the.
I'll let him speak. Sorry. You would have to use the laptop client. That's
in here, you wouldn't have the capacity. That's on the laptop tool. Yeah, we'll take a look at that next.
You can do a full survey.
Definitely.
You just wouldn't place the APs until because that same model, the same output can be put into the laptop client. So they're interchangeable in that sense. So when you place it. So the thought is, really, you're giving these to your field techs, right? Something so they can go out and do the light, simple, easy survey. And then you're going to have your data
there's
or
also
reporting
like
collection
selections
done,
for 2.4 and 5, you may have noticed.
Something like that.
So
and then
you click on the 2.45 icon,
like
so it shows
it's
you
really
coverage
just
either for just 2.4 or just 5 or both.
And then
but
some
in your
simple
example
visualizations.
projects, maybe there's nothing on 5,
Yeah.
so you may not
Yeah.
see anything. Then you can do by SSID, you know, these kind of basic selections. We just try to make it super easy or simple to use. So just a few buttons there that control all of the visualizations.
So you went through all the buttons?
Pretty much, yeah. Yes, sir.
So this is really more used as a post-assessment tool.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Any chance that this will be like an active survey tool?
AP on a stick
And
survey tools, what you're trying to apply?
Yeah, so it could be used with that, but it doesn't have the freeze, what we call the freeze functionality, so that you could separate the APs from one another if you use just one AP. And that, I just realized that like a couple of days ago that we're missing that. We did a site survey tool and now we're missing AP on a stick, so definitely it is coming. And it's not like a big deal to implement, so
right, yeah.
not gonna take very long.
It is coming though.
Oh yeah.
So the survey results on the tablet were taken from ESS on the laptop, right?
Correct.
And so can you do 3D visualization, select an AP on one floor and then move to another floor and see its coverage?
Yeah. In this, select an AP on another floor and see coverage on this.
Floor, yes.
In ESS you can.
Not
on this one. This actually does support multi-floor. So you can throw in multiple maps.
So static.
Yeah. You can only see stuff within the APs on that floor.
Right.
Of course, the bleed-through, if there's bleed-through from the other APs, it will be shown, but you cannot select the APs on the other floors.
Right.
Yeah, good question.
Now, will it show bleed-through? Because it looks like when you don't have any APs selected, it looks like it auto-selects all the APs that are represented.
Yeah,
is the heat map a combined view of all the APs, or is the heat map a combined view of all of the RF in the area?
All of the RF in the area, including the APs up and down and so on. But there is this
by SSID.
Sorry?
By SSID.
By SSID, you click. Let me wait for it to refresh. I'm hoping. Anyway, if you tap on the screen, there's a button here that says, probably by default, it says mine or something. I'm not really getting refreshes from the
Mine, yeah.
Yeah, this mine button here, you click on that, you get SSID, so then you can actually do a pull-up from the below. Let me try and see if I can do that.
Okay, yeah.
So you can pull up the SSID list from the below and so then you'll see the coverage by SSID.
Oh, nice.
So it shows you either just my access points, which is my network, a selected SSID, all of the coverage, or selected AP. So it has quite a good variety for a mobile tool.
How is this licensed?
Good question. It's single license for $3.99.
Okay, so it's licensed per device.
Yes. License per device, correct, and it makes an online registration and whatnot.
Right, gotcha.
But you don't need online connectivity every time, just the first time you boot it, or first time you install it.
Very nice.
And what was I gonna say?
That follows the same license reset procedures. So if we had to move it to a different device or a different platform.
It uses the same licensing scheme as Site Survey. Actually, the same license server serves that as well.
I totally missed that.
And we take pride in this might be the most expensive Android app there is. Do you know of any Android app that costs more than $3.99? It used to be $2.99, but we thought it was cheap. So today we announced new pricing, $3.99.
This is really good.
And by $3.99, just to make it clear, it's $399, not $3.99.
It's that thick accent. You want to make sure they understood that, right?
Exactly, thick accent. Can you translate it for me?
Yeah.
You weren't from here?
How do you do a passive site survey to show the current? Because we were trying to do it here by not really walking around.
Yeah.
We had started survey.
Yeah.
It's a nice little app.
Yeah, these are too small.
I mean, it's really designed to make it easier for the techs in the field to really just collect the data.
Then you do long.
When you really start looking at the details, the visualizations, you're still going to have to use the ESS on a laptop. And the files pass.
Yeah,
so it's the same format.
So it's doing
Android as it is
all the time, so
use
it's
on there. So they're completely transferable.
But if you walk at a channel
hooking the
space,
cable
if you
in,
will, then
doing the mass storage.
yeah, these are the data points.
Yeah.
So is this more passive?
Then you can continue from a different location.
Passive and active.
No,
passive,
we are only doing passive right now.
It's
We can't do both because the way our logic, we kind of separate having two adapters, and with it being embedded in there, there's only one adapter.
For that
so we
API.
can't. It's either that or we would have to pause, do a ping, okay, go back to pass. And we just thought it's just passive is a little bit better for us.
Sure that.
Okay, and then what about when you do AP on a stick? Will that still be passive?
Yeah,
as well?
Yeah.
Because you can't freeze.
Yeah, that's gonna go.
If they were too far, like below neg 85, then they would not show.
Freeze the AP after each
Yeah, they're
move.
definitely
so
sure.
unlike when AirMake, you merge all the data files together, and then it asks you, did the AP move?
True.
Right.
True.
You have to remember to freeze.
Yeah.
And there's constant
Ekahau
freezes
Yeah.
hours for forgetting.
This is why we're not shipping it yet, right?
So you're saying freeze and like freeze.
Yeah, terminology.
If we get
So that's how we
any,
like when you're done with the survey area, you go onto the map, you click it and you say freeze, and all it's doing is giving it a virtual MAC address, so it's not that one MAC address spread throughout everything.
What I've seen is some update
Exactly.
issues with the current version. So if we just do this, so it might
Interesting.
require a reboot to see
You got me on that one.
the actual scene. Now. This is
Bug,
exactly the thing
possible?
we're, currently.
That's
ironing
interesting
out.
how it's bleeding like that though.
Yeah,
I don't see how I can't see a straight line on
There
that.
we go.
Especially because you've clearly got sample pass down.
It could have been someone playing with this. I don't know how you would have a line though like that. That's like a perfect line. Could be. No, I doubt it though.
Okay, question.
With this being passive, can you freeze it on a channel?
Currently, no. And that's
Yeah,
maybe
I don't
my
know.
question to you guys.
I got
So
that's interesting. I
with
was
the
playing with it.
unrooted Android devices, there's only so much we can do. We can tell it to scan, and then it'll do an ABG and scan, and we're happy, right? So it gives us decent things. But then if we need to focus on given frequency, given channel, we would need to root the device. So would it be okay for you as end users to root your Android tablet for, if it's a survey tablet or whatever? Or should we be shipping actually a device with the software that would do these special things? So let me rephrase that. If you get extra functionality like zooming in on given channels and faster site surveys and more reliable packet capture and whatnot, would you be willing to root the device?
I think that most all of us have rooted devices anyways if we're using these.
Yeah.
Okay. So no problems there.
But a self-contained hardware unit
Yeah.
with the chipset would be like everything else. AirMagnet did well with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do with AirMagnet.
Except they don't currently do that today with laptops, right?
They hold that.
They have recommended adapters, but they don't have recommended platforms.
They used to sell one.
They used to, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, but that's the kind of a thing, and so I didn't show you how to perform the survey, but at least Jennifer and Andrew here, found where it's at, and it's kind of convenient to just use your fingers or thumbs to indicate your location, and because you have the finger panning and all that kind of stuff, it's pretty good, and pinch zooming and whatever. So it's. I hope this would be the future of like how site surveys are made, just because my back and biceps are hurting when I do long site surveys. So, but we'll see what happens. Scalability wise, even though these guys have pretty limited like application memory, they have good processors and all that, but the application memory is pretty limited. But we take pride in, like, I would say this is already more scalable than our main competitor's laptop product. But of course that needs to be put into like several real-world tests. But I'm pretty confident about that. Remains to be seen, and there's of course some tweaks to be made and all that. So this is shipping end of next week, and all of you will be getting a copy. So I couldn't afford it. I would have. I was bragging to Ryan already, or the MetaGeek guys, that yeah, I'm gonna get these guys tablets, but no, just didn't get it approved.
It seems I'm the only one actually using
Yeah. Since this is passive in nature, have you guys put it under load? And by that I mean in a large enterprise environment where you're seeing sometimes hundreds of access points. I know with other tools, once you start to collect that data, and you start to walk around, and you have a huge amount of access points, they tend to freeze, crash, and whatnot. And then you try to merge that data. And what we ended up doing was, kind of not doing that anymore, right? So I'm really curious with this small form factor, have you guys put it under load? If so, what's the experience?
we limit it to a certain SSID?
Can we turn off the camera for a second? Because I have a customer.
Best to wait until the end.
Okay.
To do that. So.
That sounds good. Sounds good. So at the end, I'll show you a customer project running on this that has maybe a couple of hundred radios, whatever. But yeah, we've done spent like a couple of months pretty intensive load testing, but on-site load testing, we haven't done as much as I'd like to, but we will be doing that. So I'm pretty confident on how it works right now.
We have a question online. Is there an upgrade path from the Ekahau Mobile Survey 1.0 to the latest version?
So upgrading from Mobile Survey 1 to 2, it's a $100 price difference, right? So what would you charge?
I'm just relaying the question. I don't.
I was just kidding. We're charging nothing, so everybody gets a free upgrade. So if you were, the innovator and bought Mobile Survey, and we do have hundreds of customers with that already. So those guys, it's maybe around 1,000 guys who are using 1.0. Absolutely free of charge upgrade, available late next week or the week after, depending on how our admin gets the licenses out. Good question.
I have a question. Have you thought about doing a discrete device, kind of like the device, Windows-based device that Air Magnet uses to do mobile surveys with? It's more fully featured than say a tablet-based computer?
I would say that will come when Windows 8 tablets come out, because our Site Survey Pro runs on Windows 8. So that will then be the more fully blown kind of lightweight survey solution. However, we will be making changes then, optimizing our current Site Survey tool, the Pro tool, for the Windows platform, so it's easily touch operated and all that. But it already runs on Windows 8. Good question. All right, you guys want to look at the Site Survey planning stuff?
Just one question.
Yeah.
The active survey, when do you think that might happen with this? In the sense of, you said that you'd be able to do an active, you'd be on a stick if you were.
Yeah, the AP on a stick, I think we can do as a minor upgrade to version 2, so it shouldn't be a big deal. When it comes to like what we call, there's different definitions for active survey, but AP on a stick, yeah, I would say maybe a few months, couple of months, how's that? But for what we call active survey, which is like connecting actually somewhere and measuring packet loss, whatnot, that also is in the roadmap, but that's a kind of a longer term, maybe end of this year kind of a thing.
You guys have a winner right there. That's
Let's hope so. Thank you. Sold. Yeah. Trent.
This opens all Ekahau Site Survey files on the tablet?
It opens all Ekahau Site Survey files on a tablet, except the ones that have been using CAD drawings. But yeah, so that's the current limitation.
How do you send them back and forth? Do you just email it to yourself? Or?
Good question. So sending files from the mobile survey, the typical use case scenario would be you perform a survey with the tablet, and then you want to analyze deeper and report on the Site Survey Pro. So that happens by just, in the UI, let's see if it still is alive. Oh, we don't want to show that. So in here, this is a work in progress UI. It won't look like that in the final version, but here we have send project, and it allows you to send it via email or whatever. It's not like you're gonna put it to Facebook, so we're gonna limit down the options. But yeah, so email for sending to Site Survey, but from Site Survey you would need to copy it on the SD card or on the memory of the actual tablet manually.
Or if you can mount it, you can just grab it to the folder and grab it that way, right?
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
Could you just leave your survey data in the Dropbox and access
Sure.
it to the laptop?
I think the Dropbox would work, yeah. Actually.
Good idea.
Safe,
Yeah.
backed up.
It's awful, yeah. It's a good idea.
True, yeah.
It's not stuck on.
Yeah, I haven't extensively used Dropbox on the Android, but yeah, I'm assuming it'll work. Yes.
Any way to integrate that with an outdoor survey and maybe an onboard GPS?
Yes, that's one of the things we've considered. Not like timeline not decided, but yeah, that's one thing we're definitely considering, because it would be a good, good obvious combination, right?
Yeah, that'd be hot.
Wow, I'm running out of battery.
Yeah, I'm starting to become an Ekahau fan overnight. I mean, it's
I'd like to hear that. I'll give you the $20 later. Just 1 second, let me get my power adapter for the laptop.
For a cheap date, George.
You should have been a fan after I talked to you about it. Come on, man.
You're not that convincing, man.
So how I imagine, maybe you guys would do exactly what one of you said, like use this for checking how it works from the actual end device perspective, and then if you just prefer lightweight passive surveys for some sites, you would do that. But as our end customers go, I think this opens up a new segment, hopefully, for guys who can't afford the 2K, but they can afford the few $100. This solves quite many Wi-Fi problems already, and you can verify a fully blown Wi-Fi network of a 10-story building with that. So.
Well, and I think a lot of us work with people like I have several engineers, and they may not want to carry a laptop and do a survey around, or they may not know exactly all the intricacies of a feature-rich laptop tool. But if you can give something where they can just go gather the data and then come back, and I think that's perfect, right? Especially for like junior engineers or something where they just, we don't need all the dials and geek knobs that we need. They just need to go gather the data.
Yeah, and then on top of that, that with MetaGeek, I mean, it's the price.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't outfit each one of my hospitals with Air Magnet and Cognio, but I can with this.
Yeah, exactly. And we are working with these guys closely to come up with kind of combined Spectrum/Wi-Fi hybrid mapping solution. So you'll be hearing more about that in the coming years or months.
I see some odd visualization on some of your surveys. Is that being rendered on the device by raw data, or is it being pulled from like the survey files? And
good question. So that's, first of all, that's why we're not shipping the product yet, because there is some oddities going on. Secondly, it does its own visualization, so it doesn't like take bitmaps from our Pro tool, but it does its own.
Does its own, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
And again, with this device, any roadmap with putting MetaGeek on it and doing layer 1 and the survey and layer 1 at the same time?
Mm-hmm. We had wine and discussed it yesterday, right?
Yeah, wine and discussed it yesterday. Wine, so it's not that good.
So basically, we got Ryan drunk and got him to say yes, and then we left. Good wine, by the way. Good choice. All right. Any more questions about the tablet stuff? Because I like the discussion. I don't want to rush anywhere, but we have limited time. All right. So, how much time do we have, by the way?
You've got another hour.
Perfecto. So let's look at the site survey stuff next. Okay.
When we talk a little bit, take over for a little bit, brush your voice.
Everybody now.
Everybody squeak now.
Let me do the capacity, and then you can take over for the survey, please.
All right, now stop squeaking.
All right, since many of you have not used our product, a quick user interface introduction first. So to the left, you will see when the APs start appearing, that's kind of the AP list. I think Air Magnet also has their AP list on the left. On the right, you obviously have the map, and at the top you have some of the main controls. So you have two sections, planning and survey, obviously, so depending on what you're doing. And planning is also used for like expansion planning. So you may have surveyed data, and then you can drop, on top of that, you can drop simulated APs, obviously, and all that. And then you have, based on the tabs selected, you have different kinds of tools like scale and wall drawing for planning. And because our planner is 3D, we also do things like floor alignment to kind of align the floors of a high-rise building or whatever. And then this is, I think, based on Jennifer's post, this is what we could do better. So the visualization things, because it's not like it could be more intuitive how you select different AP combinations and, for example, give an SSID or 2.4 versus 5 or whatever. So I'll give you a quick tour. So first you select what to see, whether it's signal strength, data rate, packet loss, round trip times, capacity stuff, whatever. So this is the visualization. This is the heat map selector. And then you select, for example, show signal strength for my access points. So it shows it for your network. Or then other access points, which means, so yeah, exactly. So this is what people miss. That's typical. It's not just you. So you can visualize either for all APs, my APs, other APs, or selected APs. And this is what you would typically use. So selected APs, and then you either select the APs or radios, or use our quick select, which allows you to select 2.4, 5 per SSID, make different kinds of combinations, whatnot. I'll show it in action later, or actually EJ will. At the top, there's a few of these like instant quick help things. Oh, we're not associated to the network, so we are failing all the time. Let me connect to ATT Wi-Fi.
Oh, you're connected.
Oh.
No.
You're lost.
I'm gone.
Because you changed wireless network.
Yeah, switch back. Turn your wireless off. You're connected. Your internal's connected.
Okay.
No, but the video is still working. Yeah, we're just not the screen.
Okay. Okay. Well, anyways, so what we have here is a few of these troubleshooting tools. So here you can see different green things, and this means that your network is meeting the requirements. So you have decent signal, neg 36, against your limit, which is neg 72. So this is kind of like the mobile survey, but on a shrunk size. Okay, okay.
Just disconnect this one. You're already connected on your internal.
That's right. Okay. Then there's the ping that's not working right now as a demo, and then you can see the Wi-Fi signal. So basically, this is just to show there's some activity happening there. All right. So as with any network planning tool, you draw walls and you place your APs, whatever. But with our tool, you also construct a building. So, you kind of say this is floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, and you define what kind of material is between the floors, and then you define the height of the floors. So that kind of defines a 3-dimensional model of the building, right? And that's assisted by what we call floor alignment points. So now you have a 3-dimensional model of the building. And this is kind of like Air Magnet Planner, right?
I don't think Air Magnet Planner does multiple floors.
Yeah.
It does multiple floors. Nobody ever recommends to do it though. That's.
Yeah. I didn't even know it does. But other than that, I mean, the wall drawing and all that, that's kind of similar, right? So you can either manually design the network or leave it to the auto planner. And the auto planner to us is pretty new. So what you do is you define the coverage areas, and then you hit the magic button, which kind of asks you a couple of questions, right? So what kind of network you're going to deploy? Is it going to be voice or RTLS and so on? And we have some optimizations, like for example, with an RTLS network, it prefers corners and things like that. So it makes for a better location tracking accuracy. And this is also maybe familiar to many of you guys. You can select the AP type. There's a few hundred different APs, Cisco, Aerohive, Aruba, all of the major brands are there.
Do you guys update that list, or do you have the ability to create your own custom APs?
You can create your own custom APs, not from the UI, but from a text conf file. But we update it, let's say, every month or so. And if you have a specific brand you want, we'll do the work for you. So you don't have to do the AP, we will do it for you. So just send us the specs or just the brand of the AP and the model, and we'll do it.
Yeah, pretty much most releases we're putting the updates.
Select the consider and plan things.
Sorry?
For the capacity option?
They want your next thing.
Exactly. So
that's where he was going, don't worry.
So let's hope this works. So this is again a non-production version of ESS, but let's create a plan first without capacity, okay? So we create for voice, and we don't care about capacity, just care about the voice coverage and voice overlap. So I got this from somewhere. It's typically neg 67, but some guidelines say that if you do 11N, 72 is enough, neg 72 dBm, and then 2 APs at neg 80.
Do the edit real quick, just to show.
Yeah. So here you can actually edit the requirements. So if you want to customize them or whatnot.
So you can copy, duplicate, create your own, and put in your own. And all it is you're really modifying the parameters here to what makes logical sense for whatever your customer wants, you guys prefer, or the application that you're ultimately working, whether it's VoIP or iPads, whatever. You find out what they like, and then you can go forward from there.
A little tidbit on efficiencies for that. One of the things I do is I actually will tweak those values where I know it's way too hot, because then I get a bunch of APs that are already have a tag for a channel, each on the 5 gigahertz and 2.4 side of things. So I don't have to go into the GUI and click, this is channel 1, this is channel 6, whatever. So they just have a whole bunch of APs that I can just start moving around on and not have to worry about going back through and re-channeling them. Unless, of course, if you're doing channel plan. Yeah, unless if you're doing the full channel planning.
I'm just curious, when you're doing your surveys, do you guys actually use this to do surveys, or are you guys more of like a marketing kind of?
No. I've carried it. I've carried my laptop around doing some surveys.
How often do you blue screen?
I'll be honest. I've done full site surveys, multiple floors, and not had a blue screen.
Yeah. The thing
there is blue screen, and it's usually tied to the driver. But we've really gotten that. Because I run the support, so that's really kind of cleared itself out. I don't really get much for the driver for the card, the adapter you're using. The other one is getting into your OS, right? And how much RAM do you have on your computer? If you imported 20 of these CAD drawings, that's when you're gonna run into that type of stuff. But if you're turning off the visualizations and stuff like that, and you're just collecting data, you're probably not going to see too many. Because how often are you going to go through and redo a visualization off every floor? That's where you kind of start getting into the.
Hold on, and even visualizations, that's not blue screen.
No,
that's the memory running out and the application giving you error. Two different things. I just want to point out.
You're
so with the visualizations, it's not blue screen. So I would say if you asked 5 years ago, I would have said every week or so we get a blue screen from customer, but today.
Yeah, it's a minor noise for me on the support level now.
Yeah,
and it's not something I hear people are just handling it and dealing with it out in the field, rebooting their computer and going forth. The other part of it is we have our own professional services arm that is out there doing site survey, that is out there using our tool on a week-to-week basis. Daily, they're out there doing RT. And this is also what we use for RTLS. So we use the same tool. So we really. It doesn't make sense to be out there, blue screen, reboot, all that fun stuff. Lose all the data that you might have had.
Serious?
So, it's really become just minor noise for us. It's really, now though, if you're getting those big maps and going forward with that, you're running out of Java memory. And if you're running, I typically hear it from people running the 32-bit OS. Not once you really get into the 64-bit and you really put in some serious memory into that laptop.
So you guys have full support for 64-bit?
Yes.
Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah, for the last year or so. Yes, I think since we kind of ironed out the driver, which was a couple of years ago for the USB, and then brought out the 64-bit support, the driver cleared the blue screens, and the 64-bit cleared out the out of memory stuff, which is not as bad, of course, because you can still save the project after that.
Yeah.
But
is there any kind of autosave in the background so that if you do crash?
that is something that we have not developed quite yet.
No,
we definitely say, as a best practice, make sure you're saving frequently. Save different versions. If you're finishing a wing on a hospital or a building or something like that, save as version 10. Save as version. Keep that track history so you can roll back.
The difference is though, from you using AirMagnet. If you click the save button up in the upper left, it's not stopping your recording path of what you're walking right now. So you could save every other room if you wanted to.
In the middle of a walk.
Because I'm used to having to save extra paths within a big project.
No,
Having to merge them
you could save as you go through. We'll show you here in a little bit how the best practices and everything. So go ahead, do your capacity plan, and I'll take over.
All right.
I know you guys want to get to the survey part, but
Yeah, so that's a good point about the, because we have the 15 guys on the field all the time. Those guys are all the time in the field deploying world's largest hospitals and all that all the time. And we're not doing them floor by floor or like floor per project. Those are like entire building, one project. And still we don't hear from them. When was the last time you heard about the blue screen from our guys?
I hear about hard drive failures more than I ever hear about
exactly. So you know, it's pretty solid, and we take pride in the stability and the scalability of the product. But so I was going to show you the capacity plan. So first, we create a plan without knowing anything about capacity. All right, say create plan. And Blake, by the way, this is a more recent version, so it makes slightly more intuitive plans than the existing one. And this is upcoming stuff, so you can actually say plus or minus, and it'll make a new plan with slightly more or slightly less AP, so you can quickly adjust your results. That's coming up pretty soon. So okay, so here's the plan we got, and it made it in 3D, right? So we have those APs in floors 1, 2, and 3. And the beauty of the 3D planner is that it kind of tries to how do you say, stagger the APs between the floors, because it knows about the 3D, so it doesn't place them in the same locations on neighboring floors, and it also optimizes the channel usage between floors. So you know, if you have 1 here, you have 6 on the next floor and 11 on the next floor, and that's kind of where human eye and the human brain gets complicated, because it's hard to visualize and hard to plan channels and AP locations on multiple floors, because you also have to account for walls, right? Yes.
When you draw walls and stuff in for the multi-floor, could you tell it what is in between the floors? Like I've got a concrete floor. Or
Absolutely. Good question. So here we go.
Can you do your own custom attenuations?
For these, on a conf file you can, yeah. It doesn't have an editor for that.
You can do with antennas, wall types, and floor types. So there's all 3 things that you can do, depending upon what you got.
Okay, the alignment points is you just take this and then place it on the floor.
So you just sit.
Yeah.
Make sure that all of your floors.
So all it's doing is lining your floors up, right? And just to kind of jump in here real quick, your first floor and your 5th floor, they're not always going to have the same footprint, right? So what you're going to do is, your first 3 floors are going to be exactly the same footprint. So you can use the elevators or the fire escapes or whatever. You find your custom pattern right there. And you got to make sure you stay the same pattern too. So if left side's 1, 2, 3 on your different alignment points, you're going to stay that same pattern, right? Well, then on your transition floor, that does, it's got the same footprint as everything below it, but then it has a new footprint for all the stuff that goes above it. You're going to put 3 additional alignment points on there. I mean, you can share 2 of them and then add a 4th one if it makes sense. And by alignment points, typically you're looking at elevators or something like that. You can use the custom corners of a building on the exterior. It's whatever is pervasive throughout all the floors is what you want to use for that alignment point. And then on that one transition where it kind of changes its footprint, that's where you're going to have some extra footprints. So on floor 3, it's got 6 alignment points, but then on floor 5, it's using alignment points 4, 5, 6 now, and that's what you're going to use for the rest of it. So.
All right. We saw that the signal strength was okay with the plan we made, so it meets the voice requirements signal-wise. So this would be considered a good voice network, but that's before we bring in tons of clients. So let's bring in the clients. So we say start editing the capacity requirements. So we say we throw into this building 270 N laptops, then we throw in some smartphones with VoIP, then we throw in some tablets with VoIP. And then we, tell them that, okay, in the peak hour, which we must prepare for, right? We must prepare for the peak hour, because that's when S goes down, if it does. So peak hour gets 2x the traffic compared to normal traffic.
Are you able to localize those clients? If you have, heavy client concentrations in certain areas, you can say, well, this area has, 75% of these 200 clients. Whereas the other portion of the building only has 25% of them?
Very good question. Currently, you would have to do it, then plan it one by one. In the future, we just discussed that with EJ today. So in the future, you probably will be able to do that. Right now, how it works is typically, for example, a hospital is like a couple of floors are really big and then the towers are smaller. So it actually divides the clients based on the geographical area on each floor. So it kind of evenly divides them throughout the building. Not like 50 per floor, but more intelligently.
Competitively, you'll want to get there. Some of the other higher end predictive site surveys have that.
Exactly. So so this is kind of how you put in the devices. So in my network, there's these devices. But what does a laptop actually mean? So you know, people use laptops quite differently, right? So we can't just say, you know, this is a laptop and it uses X hours of Skype and some instant messaging. Because of that, we can actually define how much this laptop uses different kinds of applications. So what I've done is I've created a profile for the laptop saying, you know, uses screen sharing for X amount of time and it uses, you know, VoIP, Skype for X amount of time. And this goes into pretty hardcore details because the system actually, after knowing this, it starts generating packets for this laptop for each application, different types of packets, VoIP packets, you know, different kinds. So it goes into very much detail then to calculate the capacity. You want me to keep it? So yeah, there's good defaults here for the different devices, but you can go down to that detail level if you really want to, you know, be sure about the capacity being sufficient. So with this capacity profile in mind, let's create a network. And bear in mind, how many APs did we have now? 17 APs, 8, 4, and 5 on different floors. So let's create with the capacity enabled. And again, this is a demo or like a pre-release, so it might be a little bit aggressive on the capacity side. But let's see what happens. Or does anything happen? How many do I have? I have 3 crashes. All right, so yeah. Now with that humongous amount of devices in the network that we configured, it does this kind of a micro cell deployment where it places APs, you know, really close to one another, right? So capacity definitely matters. If you want to serve all those users, the VoIP network that was originally defined wouldn't have cut it. And we can see it in a different way. Let's go back to the previous plan. So I'll just Control Z. There's a visualization here called capacity health, which says that given the profile that we made, the 270 laptops and a few tablets and whatever, capacity health shows, is my network good enough for that kind of capacity? And this is pretty calculation intensive, so it might take a while. Here we go. Or do we? Yeah. So now it says. Yeah, it's.
That's not how I define a while. But I live in a different world.
Yeah, it's comparable, right? Or like. So yeah, here it says you have too many VoIP calls in these areas. So actually, these areas would be fine, but these areas here, you know, you just have too many VoIP calls. And let's look at the second floor. I think there might be more problems there. And by the way, it's calculating in 3D all the time because it's also taking into account the APs on the upper floor and the lower floor.
Yeah, so just to give you, while we're watching the visualization, right here, this My AP, this My Access Points, right here, it's whatever access point you have checked off on the My section here. So this right here is what qualifies it as mine. So in a simulated value, it's all of them, right, by default. Still, in when you do a survey one, it does default all of them, but you can do some filters up here, and I can definitely show you how to filter out. And you can filter by SSID, by manufacturer, whatever you want. So then you can say, only 4 of these are my access points. So then when I do a visualization based upon my access points, I'm seeing what it does.
Sam.
We have a question online. Can you ask to show what coverage overlap looks like using capacity planning on APs where 2 or more APs on the same channel?
Come again?
A channel overlap when you've got 2 planned APs on the same channel?
All right, we can do that. So I'll finish this first and get back to that in a second. So on this floor, we can see that there's different shades of red. So there's too many VoIP calls, but in here it's actually what's called capacity limit exceeded. So there's just too much stuff on the airwaves. So too many VoIP calls means that, you know, Cisco recommends whatever 12 or 10 or 8 calls per radio, depending kind of on the radio type. So it kind of factors in that, and that's how it looks at, do I have enough calls or not, or too many calls or not. But this is actually based on the traffic the system generates and sees that, you know, with all these packets, Skype and VoIP and whatever management traffic, do I have enough airspace or not? And that's how it kind of calculates that. But that's the capacity planner. So if we go back to the super dense plan, I'm sure, you know, the capacity requirements are met. It's still calculating, but I'm sure it'll turn out all green. The point just being that, you know, it's not about coverage anymore, the network planning. It's more than that.
Quick question. So you said, just, I know you touched on it earlier, but I want to make sure I'm interpreting it right. That right now this does capacity just evenly spreads out the clients across
Correct.
the network, and you're going to have it where you can say certain areas are more densely packed with clients than others?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it currently by floor, so you could say X amount of clients on this floor, or is it just X amount of clients for the whole building?
Do we have a marker? Can I draw in here, or do we have to?
That's the grease board.
Okay.
I think.
I'll take my chances.
Hope.
So I'm not really good at explaining this, but let's say you have a 3-story building, and you have a total of 150 clients. Because this is bigger in size, floor number 1, these might get 100 of those, and then these would get 25 each. So it kind of looks at the
square footage or something?
Yeah.
Square footage, exactly, and divides the clients evenly. Because it wouldn't be fair if you have huge lower floors and then smaller upper floors.
Yeah, and I think even just a good start would be to say, here's how many per floor, but if you can get even more granular than that and say, you know, this section, you know, just by using a selection tool to say this section has, you know, whatever.
Exactly. Totally agree. All right, and then of course, you know, you can create nice reports about this and all that kind of stuff, but we are slightly short on time, so EJ, you want to show some of the site survey features? Let me open a project for you that has it. Question.
Have you used your software in a VM?
Yes.
On a Mac, for example?
Yeah, you can do it in both Bootcamp and Fusion. And the native drivers will pass through, so no problem. Preferably, I would say Bootcamp, just because then it's completely native. You don't have to worry about anything with if you're using an external adapter card like that. If you're just doing the planning, it doesn't matter at that point in time.
I think the more selling point is it supported to run it in the VM?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Good question.
So that's the simple answer right there.
And he's the support manager, so.
Did you go over the co-channel interference?
Oh, the co-channel interference. Sorry about that. So the question was about
visualizing, I think, co-channel overlap.
Exactly. So in a high capacity network, so let's create one with a lot of.
Erase that.
Thank you.
There goes my artwork.
Thank God.
All right, so now we have tons of APs.
Things are so sensitive.
There's different ways of looking at the co-channel overlap. The way we present it is called interference/noise. So
my motion sensor is too sensitive.
So the interference noise view shows kind of the worst kind of interference throughout the area, and then you can of course look at, you know, can you? Yeah. So, because this is a simulation, right? So it shows in dBm what's the noise floor on different locations and caused by interference. And then what you can do is simulate more or less network load based on, you know, how many clients you have. So I can manually crank up the network load and increase the amount of co-channel interference in any given location.
Oh, so that's interference taking into account the clients and they're transmitting in the area as well, not just the AP to AP?
The network load kind of accounts for both. So it's just, if it's 40%, it's really heavy both from the clients and the AP, so it doesn't really separate that. But there's more stuff in the works for that with relation to the capacity planning, because with that we can do more stuff, we just haven't gotten there yet.
I think because that was Keith's question, right?
Yeah.
That was online. I think one of the things that Keith was asking about as well is what you could do, and maybe this is what EJ you were going to talk about, but by having it with my access points, we could go through the side list on the left-hand side and select, channel 6, channel 6, channel 6.
Oh, yeah.
And then change the drop-down.
So, for example, if you just want to see what's going on channel 6, just use the quick select, and there you go.
Yeah, the quick select is the kind of the most unused section, but it's the simple way to really start filtering out things that you need. You can highlight by the SSID, you can highlight by the frequency, and then you can say what channels I'm looking at, and that's a really simple way to filter out things like that.
Exactly.
I mean, all these are just ways for filtering, right? This is just a filter here. Which access points do I want to visualize? Do I want to do just the ones I click on individually here or over here, or do I want to look at mine, what I consider others, or do I want to look at ones what I consider mine? And to us, mine is the network APs that I'm managing. So, like, from your point of view, that's what mine is for us on that one.
Yeah.
Others would be what we would consider all the rogues, or the printers, the little HP, Wi-Fi, whatever. I forget what they're always named.
Yeah, if you're a printer admin out there, shut off ad hoc, please.
Yeah.
And verify that it's off, because lots of times you tell me it's off and it's not off. So.
HP Connect, what is it, whatever it's called?
HP setup.
Yeah, HP setup. Classic. So let me open up a site survey project for you.
Sure, yeah.
You want me to have controls you speak, or you have controls?
You move out of my way.
You have controls. Sure.
So hopefully I don't have the thick accent so you can understand me on this one here.
Ouch. By the way, I've hidden surveys, so go view surveys.
Okay.
Montana. That's what I picked up.
Western Montana.
So just to kind of go through a little bit, I'm going to go through a little bit of the GUI, show you exactly where things are, where you might go with visualizations and stuff like that here real quick, just to kind of do that. And then following that, I'm going to go into a little bit of RTLS and kind of tell you how everything kind of ties together with the RTLS site survey and everything like that. This is just how we have kind of come up with things. Really over here, everything in this column I always consider, this is your list. This is your results of a survey. All the data you've collected, everything you've been reporting, this is where you're really going to find it. If you want to do searches, you can do MAC address, you can do SSID, whatever you want to look through. That's really just that generic find that searches all the fields, that's anything that we've collected on here. Surveys, the way we do it, it's a combination of a bunch of little surveys is ultimately how we kind of recommend it. You might do your big long run of a survey down the hallway, and then you come in and you do your little surveys of each individual room as you go in. And the great thing about that is, if you're at a facility and there's a conference room, that door is locked, you can't get in, you can't do the survey, I can come back to that day, I can come back and do it 3 weeks later, whatever I have access to it, whenever I need to. I can come back and I can do that. Yeah.
When you're talking about doing surveying, you're talking about doing a passive survey of an existing deployment, not an AP on a stick deployment, right?
Survey to me is, well, yes, but to me a survey is the same way. There's just how I finally do it, there's two different things. So I'm still going to go through the same process of clicking on the map. I'm still going to go through the same process of starting up and doing it. It's the final, what do I do at that point in time? For us, a survey on a stick, you click the start button, you start recording, you click your spots on the map. Once you're done clicking your spots on the map for that area and you're getting ready to move the AP, you stop your recording, then you go to that AP that's in the list and you right click on it and you say freeze access point. So to us, the freeze access point is how you are making a virtual MAC address for the AP, so then you can keep moving it to the next spot with one AP and go forward. I mean, you can do this with one AP, you can do this with a multiple number of APs. Whatever ultimately makes it easier for you guys to deploy out there on that front. Is that kind of answering your question there?
So,
I mean, a
so
survey is
for-
a
so for
survey
us,
to me.
Yeah, it's always kind of the same methodology, and what you see here could have been done on an AP on a stick or with a post-deployment survey. So, and what's different about AirMagnet and us is AirMagnet has this kind of merging surveys and different floors and all that grouping. With ours, there's never any of that. So, you know, you do surveys and then you do a new survey and a new survey, but you don't have to worry about it. You just click the survey button and go, and in the end, everything is always merged. So even if you have a 10-story building, we use all the survey data always. So you can see everything up and down and floors above and below and so on.
Yeah, and for like a general practice on deploying, you know, it's a huge facility, and you're going to want to send a team of engineers out there, techs or engineers, to go out there and do the survey. Typically, you know, it'll be, I'll just go with the example of 2, you know, you'd have one engineer, you got all the odd floors. You got engineer 2, you got all the even floors. So you go do your surveys on those. Once they're done, we have the ability to take all that file data, put it into one model, is what we ultimately call it, and then you can present everything as a visualization at that point in time. Now you can't do east-west surveys, and by that, you know, if you look at a 2D plane, I can't send you to the east wing and you over to the west wing. We can't merge it that way. It's on the 2D plane for us. Yet, I should say that, yes, yet. Because obviously we haven't figured out how to map it all, kind of tie it all together, but that's the things we have on the list of upcoming things eventually here.
And sorry,
you're not letting me talk a lot. You keep interrupting.
I just want to make this. Of course, people are familiar with AirMagnet, so the ability to actually have everything in a single file, all the floors, also means easier reporting, right? Because you will be reporting all the floors at once.
Yeah. So.
Let me ask you a question about reporting. When you run a report and you export it from somewhere, does it remember where you saved it to the last time, or does it always want to put it in the report?
It does today, remember.
Okay, that drives me insane.
Yeah.
So again, just to kind of say, this is all the section where you're kind of collecting your data, you're building, you know, you build your floors and stuff like that. The one thing I do want to point out, there's 2 different thoughts here. If you're doing a plan versus a survey, you really don't get into the building. So the only time you really want to build a building is when you're doing the 3D planning. When you're doing just the straight out survey, you don't need to build that, because we're just collecting the data and recording as we hear it in that location at that time. So as you go through, it'll record it on the map. There's really no need to build that building so that you have the alignment points. The reason I say that is I've had people call in, they've done the walls, they've done the alignment points, they got all that stuff. They go out there and they're like, what's going on with my visualizations? I will tell you, if you've played with the alignment points and you have 1, 2, 3 on the first floor, and then you've flipped it and it's 3, 2, 1 on the second floor, your visualizations will just look completely messed up and you won't understand what you needed. There's no need to do that when you're doing a survey. When you're just collecting raw data, you don't need to do the walls, you don't need to do the alignment points, and you don't need to do a building. That's only for the 3D planning is really the only time you need to do that on that one. So during the survey, you can leave all this information up. Personally, when I'm doing a survey, I get rid of all that stuff. So I have more real estate for my map, because ultimately when I'm doing a survey, that's really what I want to look at and what I want to work on. The other things I do, and before we even get going out on a survey, you know, you import all your maps. The big thing, obviously, always have scaled maps. We do support the CAD, the DWGs, the DWFs, but obviously all the PNG, bitmap images, we take those too. So you just import that one. Again, scaled maps, as everybody knows, that's the most important thing there for us, because obviously our visualizations will be all kind of out of whack at that point in time.
One question with that. With CAD drawings, do you interpret any of the wall information that's actually in the CAD drawing?
Not currently right now. We're ultimately just taking the base image and yeah. It's so you can keep the quality of the image, so you could really, at this point in time, zoom in and still read all this stuff. You don't get pixelated, and it kind of dilutes it for you on that one. Obviously, that is something that we've researched, something we've worked on, and it is something we're looking at with the planning side, to be able to actually recognize the walls, and then you could say, if it's this wall type, put this type of dB loss to it. I mean, how easy would that be? So there's definitely thoughts of how to really make that a simpler process, because I mean, when you're doing a plan, drawing your wall types is probably one of the most laborious things out there for you on that front. So, and we understand that, and trying to figure out how to clear that up for you is definitely a point. So once you've done that, so really, to be honest, when I go through this and I'm doing a survey, I really just go through the buttons in order of how they are. Now this is my edit tool, I kind of ignore that one, but the first thing I ever do before I go do a survey is I set my scale. Once I set my scale, it's set, you have to set it on a per map basis, but once it's set, you don't really have to do anything more with it. And the other part is, if you really want to play with it, it's a measuring tool, it's a ruler. So now that I've set my scale, I can measure the distance between my APs or how far things are. What should you use for your basis of it? You know, there's always the talk of using fire escape doors or whatever. It's, again, whatever you know is a static distance, that's what you use. So if it's the full wall of the exterior wall, that you know that distance, use that. If it's the size of a room dimension, you only need to use one side of it, and that's all you need. It's, again, whatever known distance you guys have, that's all you have to use. And you use it once. But you have to do it on each individual map. It's not something that applies to all maps, because every time you import a map, the scale could be slightly different. So we force you to do that. And then the recording button. So this is the recording button. And all this really does, you click this record button. Once you click this record button, it says, okay, I'm ready to record. The couple things I always check before I start going out there and recording is I look to see that I have signal levels up here on the top right here. So I always want to make sure I'm getting some data in before I go record. As long as I see those kind of little bars moving and changing as I'm doing stuff, because it should always be slightly moving and changing, I make sure that that's working. So you see a little bit there. The other thing I go through is I go in and just kind of go into my devices. Ultimately, you typically are always going to be doing a calibration with the included NIC 300 card that we have, which is just a USB card. So you can always use it. That's what our driver's based off of. That's what we develop everything else off of that one.
Sorry, marketing speech. So we were the first to come out with what's called what we call hybrid survey. So it utilizes how we work is we use the USB adapter and then the integrated adapter at the same time. So we don't have multiple USBs, but instead we use the USB for passive and then the integrated for active surveys.
Yeah. And
they work at the same time.
So then you'll go in through here, and the only thing I just do here is I just check to make sure I'm scanning what I want to scan. Do I want to do a survey based on both frequencies, or am I specifically looking at one frequency? Or I can even get down to the custom channels I want to specifically look at. Again, this just gives you that configuration. I would assume most of you guys are going out there doing full spectrum scans. It's whatever you need though. You have that customizability here. And the only thing that I look at here is right here, my wait time on channel. If you have a broadcasted SSID, you can increase that down to the 50 milliseconds. And all that is the pause time between channels. And the reason I do that, if I'm doing a 2.4 and a 5 gigahertz, you know, the way our scanning works, we're going to go through all the 5 gigahertz channels. We're going to go through all the 2.4, and all that is the pause between each channel. You know, so it means I can go a little bit faster. Ultimately, is what that's telling me there. So there's broadcast one. So now I have that set on there. And the last thing I do before I survey is I set my host. By default, as Jussi was just saying, we do the hybrid survey, right? By default, I'm going to ping the default gateway. Is that necessary? Do you have that? Do you have response time on there? Probably not. Maybe I'm looking for my application layer. Maybe it's VoIP phones. I want to hit my VoIP phone server, or maybe there's an iPad out there and there's a custom application and it's got a SQL server or something like that that you're using. You could ping that, so you're getting some results based upon the application you're using. It's completely customizable. You do it to what? You can do it to the wireless controllers, whatever you want to do it. You just put in the IP address and away you go. And you can do a quick test right there to make sure it's working there. So now that I've done that, now it's just a matter of recording. So the recording for us is just literally, you start on a known location, left click. You should walk out, you're going to go, typically you're walking your standard survey pace, nothing different there. And then you just left click where you go past your next known location. Now you could stop right there, and that's one survey path in the whole bunch of surveys. So I don't know if I explained that quickly, I spoke too quickly, but what we do is a whole bunch of different surveys. So I'll do my hallway survey, and then I'll break those off and do my little surveys. But also, if someone all of a sudden walks up to me and starts talking to me, I also want to stop my survey at that point in time, because otherwise in our system, what it is I'll be collecting a whole bunch of data, and I'll be staying in one spot, but ultimately what we do is between the left clicks, we really just average it out in time. It's a time-space spread out there. So if I had one spot where I'm collecting a whole bunch of data, it's all going to be the same, and then I'm going to spread that over the path. So I typically always make sure I've stopped my surveying if I'm interrupted or stopped on my path or something. Yeah.
With Air Magnet, you can toggle that on and off. Can you do that with your software as well?
I'm sorry?
Your collection where you average out your data?
No.
Yeah, sample on path versus sample on click. That's what it's called.
Yeah, you mean like click, collect, and then move to the next location, collect. Yeah, we don't have that. We used to have that actually in the first calibrator, RTLS calibrator, but then we moved it into the constant data collection just because it's faster for the surveyor. But I can see why some people want the point-based method, just because it's kind of easier to get somewhere, then click and
if you
collect.
get interrupted by a nurse asking you what the heck, if they can hear you now, then you got to stop, explain yourself, and you're in the middle of a 10-foot walk path, and you got to backtrack 5 feet at a time.
So to me, that's just a process in my head, and the way we do it is it's a left click, and then I do a right click, and I stop recording at that point in time. It's just all I have to do is once I'm ready to resurvey again, I start again with a left click and keep going forward. So that's kind of the one difference on how we do that one.
Exactly. So when the nurse comes talk to you, right-clicking kind of cancels the last point and stops surveying. And then the next time you left-click on the map anywhere, it continues from a different location. So it's pretty straightforward once you kind of do it once or twice.
George, the way that I did that single click, like if you just need to check one room, because that's what you just missed that one room to do, there's nothing stopping you from just hitting the start button, clicking once in the room, maybe twice in the room, 2 data points, and then stopping, because you're not merging a bunch of things all together like you do in AirMagnet. It's all one big file. So you would just deselect that survey if you wanted to take it out of the data.
And I understand. I'm just looking for the clarity if it's something to be toggled on and off, because it does seem like you're doing a little bit extra work in this compared to like Air Magnet where you can just toggle it on and off. Because to Sam's point, when you're doing a hospital, a lot of times you have to knock on a door, introduce yourself. They're going to ask what you're doing. Next thing you know, you're sitting there for 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
So like this
data might be a little skewed.
Yeah. So this is what I mean. When we hit the record button up top here, that means I'm ready to start recording. I won't start recording until you click on the map. So the way I do like a hallway, so in a hospital, let's go with that example. I do the long run down the hallway, so I do that full straight run. Get that done, and if I choose to do bi-directional, that's purely up to what you guys as you're reporting to. Do you want 2 walks? That's fine. So I've done that path, and then I'll come back and I'll actually stand at the doorway, left click, go in, and then that's all I do. So here it is, I'm ready to click, so I'll left click here, go in, walk across, and I really just do kind of more the diagonal across from the entrance way. Click here, walk back out, left click, and I right click and I'm done. So that's how I attack the room's usage at that point in time, or the interruption of a survey path at that point in time. So it is a different concept, definitely.
And right-clicking is the pausing, actually. So there, we used to have in Survey 2.2, we had this like play pause button, but then we saw it unnecessary because right-clicking actually always pauses and left-clicking kind of continues from a different spot.
So can you just always right-click? Like, so you can just right-click for a point in time?
You always will have to do a left click. The left click makes the reference on the map, and the right click is the pause.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And just to show you kind of what's happening here, so all these last 3 ones are ones that I just did while we were talking, and they're all. This is how we do it. It's the combination of all these little surveys is what gives us our full visualization there. So it's a combination, doing all that there.
And they are automatically merged, everything. So no manual merging ever, unless you want to exclude something, then you need manual work.
Yeah. And then just to kind of, I want to just dive in a little bit further here a little bit. So, here's the survey path. Now I want to do a little bit of inspecting along the survey path of what's actually going on. So now I click on my survey inspector.
This is pretty geeky stuff.
This is where you're kind of getting into the fun stuff, or at least I think. So here's where I'm looking at exactly a capture in time, and let me make that a little bit bigger for you there. So this is where I'm looking at. Here's my signal strength here, and down here is pretty much my time values here. And this bottom one, this is the ping right here. So this is my round trip return time. I mean, we're just doing a simple ping, round trip return time, we're just pinging. That's all we're doing. So as you can see, down here is the level. Now up here, you can see what access point I was actually associated when I was doing the ping here. And it's actually color coded, so it actually matches to a color over here. And if I slide, I think I'm in a spot, I don't know if I did one there, but let me see. So now I'm looking along that whole survey path, what the values are. I could actually select one here, but you can also see, hopefully I picked one.
There
So now there you can also see kind of the roam, right? So here I was pinging to this access point right here on this SSID. And then as you can see, as I got kind of here, you can see where I roamed. I had a couple failed ping packets, and then now, boom, I'm on the next access point. So it gives you a little bit of visualization.
Now, in this particular example, I imagine this is probably a post-assessment where you're attaching to their network, you're authenticated, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing
Yes.
active ping. Now, what security does your software support?
We're using the internal adapter.
Okay, so the internal adapter will do 802.1x and all that other good stuff.
So it actually utilizes Windows authentication methods. So we don't provide you with the authentication tools, but you use the built-in ones in Windows. So we
Or
give
whatever,
you kind
actually. If you had the Odyssey client or whatever running, it doesn't matter
Just
to
kind
us.
of using that as the supplicant, if
Yeah.
you will, to
Yeah.
authenticate and
Yeah.
manage that authentication.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or we don't even manage that.
Yeah.
It's managed by the operating system all the time.
But that's managing that.
Yeah,
part.
yeah,
Exactly.
You're just collecting that data.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I have two questions that are very similar. The first of which is when you're doing an AP on a stick survey, and you've got you're doing, say for example, a new deployment for a new facility that's got an existing infrastructure. Why do I care about passive scanning and seeing what's off channel when their existing infrastructure is just going to be reported back to me as noise? Because all that's going to go away anyway, right? So the first question I have is if I'm not concerned about an existing infrastructure, how do I exclude that data? And then the second question I have, which is probably very similar, is if I'm doing a post-deployment survey where we've got an adapter set doing passive scanning on other channels, and I have features like client link or beamforming that will, or beam steering, that are association-based technologies that say, hey, in order for you to get an accurate representation of your coverage in this spot, you need to be associated to an AP. Why would I want to do background scanning and then have that data be taken into account as literal data or representative of what my client's going to get?
I might need you on that one.
Okay, so first question was you have an existing infrastructure, but you're kind of adding there and doing AP on a stick, or?
No, if I go into a corporate environment and say, my wireless sucks, I want to scrap the whole thing, but I want you to come in and do an AP on a stick survey.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So you have to contend with their existing infrastructure. You got to make sure that you play nice.
Yeah.
Why do I want to do background channel scanning if all I'm going to do is pick up all of their existing APs that I don't want to hear?
The tool, the passive scanning picks up everything, right? Your AP on a stick and everything else. Then it's about filtering out, the other AP. So you could use show signal strength for selected AP and just select the AP on a stick to see the coverage for that AP. And as for the active survey, then you would be pinging that AP on a stick and pinging the IP address of that AP.
Okay.
So that's kind of how you get the results to and from that AP on a stick to get
so you can filter out all that.
Oh yeah, we always
I'll show you how to. So this is that whole concept of my access points, other access points, and stuff like that. So here's what I would go through as a process. The first thing I would do is, my actions right here. So I would select all. So as you can see, they're all orange. Then I would go through here and deselect from mine. So what that's ultimately doing is taking everything out as my access points. And then I would put, now once I've done that, and then I do a select none, right? So then I come up here and I say, what's my SSID that I'm looking at? So HH honors. Did I spell that right?
Yeah.
Let me do academic. That'll show you fewer, right? So now it's kind of just pared down, how many ones I want. Then I can just go through here and select the APs. So now when I go through here through my visualizations, it's only going to show me my visualizations based upon my AP. And granted, it's messed up because I've done 3 surveys of the same thing sitting right here, so it shows all over the place. But that's how you would filter out the corporate AP, so you don't see those, and all you're looking at is your survey on a stick. So you would have your access point, it has an SSID, or it's a different manufacturer, or the exact MAC address, and you can filter it that way.
Okay. The second question was about beamforming and stuff like that. So why would you do the background scanning and?
Well, no, I mean, I understand why you would do background scanning. You do background scanning to augment your existing data, right? So you can say AP on a channel that I'm not currently associated to shows the signal strength. Unfortunately, that signal strength is not going to be what you get if you disassociate and reassociate to that AP.
Yes, that's a very good question, and I've been talking, for example, with the Ruckus guys about that. And actually,
Well, it's the same, yeah.
you have to send and receive quite a bit of data for the beamforming to kick in. So it doesn't actually kick in from this minor stuff that we do with the active survey. So our way, and this has been agreed, for example, with Ruckus, or they suggested that, okay, you guys do the survey like you do, the beamforming doesn't kick in, but the beamforming will be kind of the extra enhanced 3 to 5 dB that you get, but you need to know that you're then gonna get that 3 to 5 dB, and you can actually adjust the visualizations then accordingly.
So I know in the Cisco world, it's done on a per packet basis, so it's not done at a particular threshold, right? It's done on every packet, on like the new APs, for example.
All right.
So there's not a threshold you have to hit. It's everything, but you have to be associated with it in order to work.
Okay, and it applies for management frames as well, right? Because for Ruckus it doesn't.
I don't think it applies to management frames.
It never applies to broadcast or multicast frames, including like management frames. So what you're talking about is, I can only take advantage of beamforming when I'm associated. So to do an active site survey, I want to be associated, and I want to take into account the signal strength with the beamforming to get the performance and the signal strength for that client when they're connected, right?
I don't want to hear the background noise where I do want to take the signal into account, because I want to understand what beamforming is doing to my client, for example.
Yeah, and I think he's saying that just associating to the access point and forming that connection with Ruckus, they're not doing the beamforming until you pass enough data, and it learns probably what antennas to select.
Yep.
With Cisco, it's probably different. They're probably doing it once you associate with, a legacy client, or with client like one.
Well, with 3600s, right? It's all.
Yeah,
clients.
then it's 11N clients as well. Right. So they may do beamforming a little differently. And I think what you're saying then is that they're not taking into account the beamforming because they're never activating it on the Ruckus stuff. Now, the Cisco stuff we might have to check in on.
Right. Yeah.
But they're just doing, it's going to be 3 to 5 dB better, and we'll account for that after. Maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of how we do it with Ruckus. But yeah, I haven't thought of the 3600 scenario. And for Cisco, previously it was just for the client link, so it was just the G clients. And at that point of time, I wasn't that concerned about it. But now I have to go back to the drawing board.
Well, especially since now you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
Right? It's turned on all the time.
Yeah, it's there.
For all clients.
Exactly. So.
Do you want to hear from Ruckus about that? GT said he can call in.
I will be asking that question.
Actually, Keith just mentioned using iPerf survey with air magnet gives enough load to trigger Ruckus beam.
Oh yeah, iPerf definitely. Yeah, so you could run iPerf at the same time and then kind of get the truth.
But if you're just
no, if you're collecting management frames, like the air magnet passive survey and ours, right? They are based on probes and beacons. So you're still not seeing the values.
You have to do an active survey and actually pass data.
Yeah, and actually not base that data on probes and beacons, but you have to collect something else.
It has to be some unicast traffic, and it takes them, like 15 packets to be able to calibrate beam steering and to use it effectively. So I think I agree with what you're saying that you have to factor it in afterwards, I guess, because you can't reliably get beamforming.
Exactly, and that's always for one access point, and kind of the idea of passive survey anyway is collect data all the time for all the APs. So this becomes hugely complex if you have beamforming enabled, because you're associated with one AP, but you're collecting data from all the APs. The data will be screwed.
Right, that's exactly my concern.
So we definitely need to take it to the drawing board, and with you guys figured it out how to make it work, and with the guys from Cisco and Ruckus. Excellent question, by the way. Very good.